Buenas noches, soy Lourdes Evans. Estamos leyendo The Midnight Library de Matt Haig. Hoy nos toca Svalbard. She woke in a small bed in a little cabin on a boat. She knew it was a boat because it was rocking, and indeed, the rocking, gentle as it was, had woken her up. The cabin was spare and basic. She was wearing a thick fleece sweater and long johns. Pulling back the blanket, she noticed that she had a headache. Her mouth was so dry her cheeks felt sucked in against her teeth. She coughed a deep, chesty cough and felt a million pull lengths away from the body of an Olympian. Era falopera en esta vida. Her fingers smelt of tobacco. Woo! She sat up to see a pale blonde, robust, hard-weathered woman sitting on another bed staring. "God morgen, Nora." She smiled and hoped that in this life she wasn't fluent in whichever Scandinavian language this woman spoke. "Good morning." She noticed a half-empty bottle of vodka and a mug on the floor beside the woman's bed. A dog calendar, April, Springer Spaniel, was propped up on the chest between the beds. The 3 books on top of it were all in English. The one nearest to the woman said Principles of Glacier Mechanics, two on Nora's, a Naturalistic's Guide to the Arctic, and a Penguin Classic edition of The Saga of the Volsungs, the Norse epic of Sigurd the Dragon Slayer. She noticed something else. It was cold, properly cold. The cold that almost burns, that hurts your fingers and toes and stiffens your cheeks, even inside, with layers of thermal underwear, with a sweater on, with the bars of 2 electric heaters glowing orange. Every exhale made a cloud. "Why are you here, Nora?" the woman asked, in heavily accented English. A tricky question when you didn't know where "here" was. "Bit early in the morning, isn't it, for philosophy?" Nora laughed nervously. She saw a wall of ice outside the porthole rising out of the sea. She was either far north or very far south. She was very far somewhere. The woman was still staring at her. Nora had no idea if they were friends or not. The woman seemed tough, direct, earthy, but probably an interesting form of company. "I don't mean philosophy. I don't even mean what got you into glaciological research, although it might be the same thing. I mean, why did you choose to go as far away from civilization as possible? You've never told me." "I don't know," she said. "I like the cold. No one likes this cold, unless they are sadomasochists." She had a point. Nora reached for the sweater at the end of her bed and put it on, over the sweater she was already wearing. As she did, she saw beside the vodka bottle a laminated lanyard lying on the floor. "Ingrid Skidberg, Professor of Geoscience, International Polar Research Institute." "I don't know, Ingrid. I just like glaciers, I suppose. I want to understand them, why they are melting." She wasn't sounding like a glacier expert, judging from Ingrid's raised eyebrows. "What about you?" she asked hopefully. Ingrid sighed, rubbed her palm with a thumb. "After Per died, I couldn't stand to be in Oslo anymore. All those people that weren't him, you know. There was this coffee shop we used to go to at the university. We just sit together but silent. Happy silent. Reading newspapers, drinking coffee. It was hard to avoid places like that. We used to walk around everywhere. His troublesome soul lingered on every street. I kept telling his memory to piss the fuck off, but it wouldn't. Grief is a bastard, and I would have stayed. And if I had stayed, lo escribí mal, ay Dios, todas estas cosas. If I would have stayed, ¿en serio que sos Donald Trump? Dios. Lo vamos a corregir. If I had stayed, okay, any longer, I would have hated humanity. So when a research position comes up in Svalbard, I was like, when a research position came up in Svalbard, I was like, yeah, this has come to save me. I wanted to be somewhere he had never been. I wanted somewhere where I didn't feel his ghost. But the truth is, it only half works, you know. Places are places and memories are memories. And life is fucking life. Wow, qué frase, ¿eh? La voy a anotar así, después la cito. Nora took all this in. Ingrid was clearly telling this to someone she thought she knew reasonably well, and yet Nora was a stranger. It felt odd, wrong. This must be the hardest bit about being a spy, she thought. The emotion people store in you, like a bad investment. You feel like you are robbing people of something. Ingrid smiled, breaking the thought. Anyway, thanks for last night. That was a good chat. There are a lot of dickheads on this boat, and you are not a dickhead. Oh, thanks, neither are you. And it was then that Nora noticed the gun, a large rifle with a hefty brown handle, leaning against the wall at the far end of the room under the coat hooks. The sight made her feel happy somehow, made her feel like her 11-year-old self would have been proud. She was, it seemed, having an adventure. La próxima se llama Hugo Lefebvre o algo así. Nora walked with her headache and obvious hangover through an undecorated wooden passageway to a small dining hall that smelled of pickled herring and where a few research scientists were having breakfast. She got herself a black coffee and some stale dry rye bread and sat down. Con qué dinero nadie sabe. Around her, outside the window, was the most eerily beautiful sight she had ever seen. Islands of ice, like rocks rendered clean and pure white, were visible amid the fog. There were 17 other people in the dining hall, Nora counted. 11 men, 6 women. Nora sat by herself, but within 5 minutes, a man with short hair and stubble 2 days away from a full beard. Miren lo que se fija. Con todos los días la barba del tipo. Ya sé que es una metáfora, pero para mí es re torta también. O sea, yo sé que la intención del autor no es hacerla pasar por torta. Torta en Argentina es lesbiana. Pero a mí me da re lesbiana, me da re torta esta mina. Me da eso, me da que no le gustan los tipos. Y me da que va más por ese lado. Having said that, he was wearing a parka, like most of the room, but he seemed ill-suited to it, as if he would be more at home on the Riviera, wearing designer shorts and a pink polo shirt. He smiled at Nora. She tried to translate the smile, to understand the kind of relationship they had. He watched her for a little while, then shuffled his chair along to sit opposite her. She looked for a lanyard, but he wasn't wearing one. She wondered if she should know his name. I'm Hugo, he said, to her relief. Hugo Lefebvre, whatever. You're Nora, yes? Yes. I saw you around in Svalbard at the research center, but we never said hello. Anyway, I just wanted to say I read your paper on pulsating glaciers and it blew my mind. Really? Yes, I mean, it's always fascinated me why they do that here and nowhere else. It's such a strange phenomenon. Life is full of strange phenomena. Conversation was tempting, but dangerous. Nora smiled a small, polite smile and then looked out of the window. The islands of ice turned into actual islands. Little snow-streaked, pointed hills like the tips of mountains or flatter, craggy plates of land. And beyond them, the glacier Nora had seen from the cabin porthole. She could get a better measure of it now, although its top portion was concealed under a visor of cloud. Other parts of it were entirely free from fog. It was incredible. You see a picture of a glacier on TV or in a magazine, and you see a smooth lump of white. This was as textured as a mountain, black, brown, and white. And there were infinite varieties of that white, a whole visual of variation. White, blue white, turquoise white, gold white, silver white, translucent white, rendered clear and alive and impressive. Certainly more impressive than the breakfast. Depressing, isn't it? Hugo said. What? The fact that the day never ends. Nora felt uneasy with that observation. In what sense? He waited a second before responding. The never-ending light, he said before taking a bite of a dry cracker. From April on. It's like living one interminable day. I hate that feeling. You'd think they'd give the portholes curtains. Hardly slept since I've been on this boat. Nora nodded. How long is that again? He laughed. It was a nice laugh. Close-mouthed, civilized. Hardly a laugh at all. I drank a lot with Ingrid last night. Vodka has stolen my memory. Are you sure it's the vodka? What else would it be? His eyes were inquisitive and made Nora feel automatically guilty. She looked over at Ingrid, who was drinking her coffee and typing on her laptop. She wished she had sat with her now. Well, that was our third night, Hugo said. We have been meandering around the archipelago since Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. That's when we left long ago. Nora made a face as if to say she knew all this. Sunday seems forever away. The boat felt like it was turning. Nora was forced to lean a little in her seat. 20 years ago, there was hardly any open water in Svalbard in April. Look at it now. It's like cruising the Mediterranean. Nora tried to make her smile seem relaxed. Not quite. Anyway, I heard you got the short straw today. Nora tried to look blank, which wasn't hard. Really? You are the spotter, aren't you? She had no idea what he was talking about, but feared the twinkle in his eye. Yes, she answered. Yes, I am the spotter. Hugo's eyes widened with shock, or mock shock. It was hard to tell the difference with him. The spotter? Yes? Nora desperately wanted to know what the spotter actually did, but couldn't ask. Well, bonne chance, said Hugo with a testing gaze. Merci, said Nora, staring out at the crisp Arctic light and a landscape she had only ever seen in magazines. I am ready for a time.